race fans, welcome to my little show about motorsports I like to call In the Pits with me, StockCar Scott. Here each Wednesday on the YouTube during racing season when I feel like it. This weekend I celebrated the 240th birthday of our country by watching racing. Since all on-track activity was washed out on Thursday in Florida, I had to wait until Friday, July 1st for NASCAR at Daytona, the world center of racing, with both Sprint Cup and Xfinity qualifying there Friday. David Ragan was on the pole in the Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing in the number 18, substituting for young Matt Tiff, who was kind of busy at the time out having brain surgery. Well, he's recovering nicely, and you don't need to worry about him. He'll be back racing, they say in quite a few months there. But anyway, in Sprint Cup qualifying right afterwards, my wife's favorite, Greg Biffle, put his basically unsponsored Roush Ford on the pole for the Coke 0400. Then, not long after, the green flag waved for the Xfinity Firecracker 250. The first caution came out around lap 14 or so, with a big one that whittled down the field a little bit, but then there were several more cautions. Then during the eventual green-white checker, the pole winner, David Ragan, got turned sideways in the backstretch, and the ensuing wreck took out many, many more cars and led to the finish being a judgment call on NASCAR's part well before the finish line. Eric Almirola was awarded the win over Justin Allgaier, and that is the second win that has been accredited to Almirola in the Xfinity Series. See, 9 years ago at the Milwaukee Mile, because primary driver Denny Hamlin was late from his Nextel Cup commitments for the race there at Milwaukee, and Almirola had qualified the JGR Busch at the time series car. He started the race but was pulled in favor of Hamlin when he got there later in the race. And this was to satisfy the sponsor's desire to have Denny Hamlin in the car. Well, amazingly enough, little Denny Hamlin went on to win that night at Milwaukee, but he didn't win it. Of course, the win belonged to Eric Almirola, who did not join everyone in the victory lane celebration because he had already made like Elvis and left the building. A few weeks later, Almirola requested and was granted his release from his Joe Gibbs Racing contract. Now, I don't think that Almirola will be there, but the next Xfinity event is this Friday evening at Kentucky. Now, even though he was in a really nasty crash at Daytona, Daniel Suarez still leads the Xfinity driver points going into this weekend's race at Kentucky. The Camping World Truck Series will also be racing at Kentucky on Thursday evening, so you can follow on your smartphone or Android while you are stuck in traffic tomorrow. Saturday started nicely with my favorite F1 driver earning the pole for the Grand Prix of Austria. Things got even better on Sunday for Lewis Hamilton, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. After watching F1 qualifying, I set the video recording device for the Daytona Sprint Cup race there, the Coca-Cola 400, Coke 0400 there. And then my wonderful wife and I got in the Monte Carlo SS. We went down, had it washed, and then we headed to South Sound to see the Wes Rhodes Firecracker 126. And boy, was it ever crowded there at South Sound Speedway. I'm glad we got there a little early because the lines That became the operative word for the evening, much like the week before at Summer Showdown. Except this time, I missed out on chili cheese fries. Yeah, after much anticipation, my hopes of my favorite chili cheese fries were dashed as I made it to the concession counter, having missed the whole vintage modified main in my time of waiting. And then I got there, I was told there was no longer any chili. Yes, French fries, yeah, they had those. Cheese, yes, they had that, but chili, nope. And at the time, they didn't even have any hot chocolate. So I returned to my seat frustrated and empty-handed after an at least 25-minute wait. Luckily, we were able to get a cup of hot chocolate on our way out to help keep us warm for the trip back to Seattle. But I was so frustrated, I did not even attempt to video the hobby stock main that I had missed the beginning of while waiting to have my heart broken at the concession counter. The hobby stock main was a spirited affair with the number 15 of Marshall Hallett passing the 31 of Zach Florek late in the 30-lap main for the win. Before my failed attempt to obtain chili cheese fries, two other mains were run with Jerry Carball winning the Bumblebee main and Kevin Pegg winning the mini stock 35-lap main. I do have video of the mini stock main on my YouTube channel, but not the Bumblebees or the vintage mods that I missed doing other things, like waiting in line. After all, the concession counter was not the only area with long lines. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm glad lots of race fans came. I'm glad lots of people were there that like racing and fireworks and coming out to honor a great guy like the king of the road, Wes Rhodes. But I also have to acknowledge I need to be better prepared for the Miller 200, the next big race out there, coming up at South Sound at the end of this month. Maybe I'll go ahead and pack me a moon pie or a chocodile there in my carry-in cooler there. Anyway, the race, the feature race for the night, the Wes Rhodes Firecracker 126, started with my two of my Facebook friends on the front row with Tommy Elston and the number 2 Sunkiss SS on the pole lined up next to Molly Helmet in the Frontier Communications Jana Helmet CPA car on the outside. As the race got started, neither Molly nor Tommy seemed to get a really good start, and before the end of lap 1, Chad Hinkle in the number 33 Lexar Holmes Chevy was around both the front row drivers and leading the 126-lap race. He led for the rest of the race despite some considerable challenges by other drivers, most notably by Rod Schultz in the 55 car, who spun himself in turn 2 late in the race trying to get under Chad Hinkle. Schultz was able to work his way back up to a top 5 finish, finishing 4th. Number 17, Bob Presley, finished in second place there, and number 11, Riley Watson, was third. Molly Helmet finished in 5th place, which was her best finish at South Sound ever. Best I've ever seen her finish. After the race, there were fireworks, and judging from the past years that we've seen them, I'm sure they were fairly awesome, but my wife and I were just really too cold to enjoy them, so we drank our hot chocolate and headed for Seattle. We got back to Seattle very late, having made a stop in Lacey for some Walmarting. It was too late to watch Daytona, but I had already learned Bad Brad Keselowski had won, and Dale Jr. had got caught up in the big one. Recorders were reset for the F1 race in the morning for me, and the Tour de France for my wonderful wife, and then it was off to bed. When Sunday officially started, I found myself watching replays of races. When I went on and watched the NBC-SN replay of the Formula One Grand Prix that had been recorded earlier on NBC-SN, but I did watch that one later on so I could get the whole picture of how the race played out in Austria. I enjoyed getting to see Lewis Hamilton win, especially after he was run off the track by his Mercedes teammate there. What's his name? In an odd example of instant karma, Rosberg broke a front wing and lost the lead, all in the same dumb butt move that lost him the race or even a podium finish. Hamilton was able to complete the last lap pass despite his teammate's crazy move and win the Austrian Grand Prix. Young Red Bull driver Max Verstappen was second, and Ferrari's former world champ there, Kimi Räikkönen, was on the third step of the podium. Rosberg still leads the driver points, but Hamilton has cut his teammate's lead to 11 points. The next Grand Prix is at Silverstone in Great Britain this coming Sunday morning. Again on NBC-SN. Again on NBC. Get it right, Scott. Again on NBC, so the Tour de France can continue on NBC-SN. There you go. But also Sunday on NBC-SN, after the F1 replay, is the Indy Racing League race at Iowa. Ooh, watch this one, race fans, because I can almost guarantee it will really be something to see, and it will go by fast. This is one of the IRL races that I really make an effort to watch each year. Right there at Rusty's track with the safer barriers, boy, they just fly. Thank you there, needed a Sterling Marlin there, Mountain Dew break, so I don't get so tongue-tied. It's supposed to help. Okay. Also, last Sunday I watched the Daytona 400, though. Coke Zero 400 replay on what NBC-SN is calling Daytona 120, which is a 2-hour abbreviated version of the race. So here is my abbreviated version of the race. Bad Brad won, the Toad was second, his brother got wrecked by the Joker, who was fourth, behind Roush driver Trevor Bayne, whose teammate, pole sitter Greg Biffle, my wife's favorite, was the best finisher, relatively speaking, in eighth. Ta-da! The drivers of the Sam's Brothers' favorite cars all got caught up in the big one about halfway through the race, with Dale Jr. finishing the best in the best of the back half there. The next Sprint Cup race is Saturday night at Kentucky, after Trucks on Thursday and Xfinity on Friday. The track has a new paving job, so things should be interesting. But I might be watching the replay on Kentucky 120, because Saturday night I'm planning on being at Yakima Speedway for the fourth race of the Twisted Tea Better All Auto Sales West Coast Late Model Series to cheer on my favorite local drivers in my favorite local racing series. You know, drivers like Buck Knoll Jr., Andy Soul, a Honey Badger, Jim Franklin, Brooks Schimmel, Derek Ball, Max Schroeder, Mike Brooks, Doug Poirier, Todd Connell, and maybe Lyndon Fritz will come down from Canada. So if you want to see some great local racing by some great local racers, then join me and my wife at Yakima Speedway this Saturday night, the 9th of July, for the West Coast Late Model Series. There will also be Hornets, mini stocks, and what they call super stocks that are like hobby stock, street stock, something like that. And the dreaded bump to pass sedans. Front gates open at 4 and racing begins at 5 p.m. according to the Yakima website. So race fans, you know that's where I'm going to be. And I'm excited. I'll be there watching some exciting racing because as the one and only Stock Car Scott, that's kind of what is expected of me. Then I will be back here on my little show about motorsports next week. I like to call In the Pits. Next Wednesday, same Stock Car time and same Stock Car channel. You know, if I feel like it. Thank you, race fans, for watching again this week, and I hope to see you all soon at the track. Good night.